topic is the topic of not only the Charlottesville community, the Albemarle community, the Fluvanna community, the Central Virginia community, but communities across Virginia. As we've discussed, Governor Glenn Youngkin has pulled the mandate when it's come to mask in schools. And today, the first day, we're really seeing that dynamic in action. And today, we are welcoming 3 concerned parents to the program, 2 moms and a dad. Emily Fernandez is going to be our guest, Brittany Gray, our guest, and Cameron Gray on our guests. We will have an open-ended discussion, a respectful discussion with these 3 parents on today's program. We will take comments as long as the comments are respectful and abide by the golden rule. We do not mind challenged perspectives and people challenging our perspective, but they have to come from a foundation of respect and a foundation of a golden rule mentality. So Judah Wickower, we can start the program when you are ready. If you guys can give the show a like and a share on every social media platform you're watching this program on. We are live on every social media platform out there. Judah, we are in your hands, my friend. Good Monday afternoon, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVille show. Thank you kindly for joining us. We are live in Charlottesville, across the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille network. Thank you kindly for joining us. Live on every social media platform known to mankind. Your questions, your perspectives, your thoughts, welcome on today's program, and we know it's going to be a dynamic and well-watched and well-listened show. Today, Glenn Youngkin's lifting of a mask mandate in schools in the Commonwealth becomes reality. In schools from Northern Virginia to Southwestern Virginia, from Richmond, Williamsburg, Hampton Roads, all across the Commonwealth are dealing with this reality and the unfortunate nature, and I'm speaking as a parent, our children are in the crossfire. I think as parents, we all want what is best for our child, and today in January 2022, parents, right now, we have decisions to make, and those decisions, whether we want to admit it or not, are going to impact how our child goes about his or her life in hallways in schools across Virginia, both public and private. Judah Wickower is our director. If you have questions or comments, put them in the feed. And on that note, we're going to welcome 3 concerned parents to the show. We have Emily Fernandez, Cameron Gray, and Brittany Gray on the I Love CVille show live. Folks, you are on the program as we speak. Brittany, we will start with you. Thank you kindly for helping set up this interview. How are you today?
Doing great. Thank you for having us, Jerry.
Truly our pleasure. I will get out of the way. Ladies first. Brittany, introduce yourself to everybody that's watching.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Gray. Some of you may know me. I'm here today as a mother, a concerned parent, and a resident of Fluvanna County.
Emily, the show is yours. Introduce yourself to everyone that's watching.
Hi, I'm Emily Fernandez, and I'm also a Fluvanna resident and concerned parent, just trying to do what's best for my kids, my friends' kids, and the community at large.
I respect that. We have one of the most beautiful kitty cats in the world behind you right there. Mr. Cameron Gray, the show is yours, sir. Introduce yourself to everybody that's watching.
Well, I'm Cameron Gray, Brittany's husband. Here to support the kids first. I think that's what's really hashing the emotion. When anything is involved with children or our loved ones, we want to definitely put that in the forefront, and I'm happy to be here.
Great take. All right, I'm out of your way. Brittany, the show is yours. Where do you want to go first?
Well, I would really like to promote an event tonight at Danny's Grill. They're typically closed on Mondays, and they've opened up tonight so that we could avoid conflict at the schools in Fluvanna County and get some parents and children to come out mask free, or if you want to wear a mask, you wear a mask, you're still welcome. It's just to celebrate Governor Youngkin's EO. And of course, we still have a law in place that's demanding the schools to do what they're doing and continue to make masks mandatory in certain areas. Not in support of that. So we have the event. It's called Trash the Mask After Class. We don't want to invoke violence. We're not trying to disrupt people in school. We just really want to open the door for people to have an outlet and know that there is a community that supports you.
Emily,
Yes.
talk to us. Why is this passionate? Why is this important to you?
I've just seen and heard so many hard stories over the last 2 years. The mandates, everything from the vaccines, the masks, to, the world shutting down essentially, and the effect that it's had not only on adults but on our kids. And just ready to get back, whatever kind of normalcy we can reach at this point, ready to get there. And I think dropping this mask mandate in the schools is a great first step, and it's something that needs to be done. Kids need to see faces, they need to see expressions, they need to see their friends, they need to be socializing and doing what's best for their overall health. And I think that's it.
Mr. Gray, the show is yours, sir. What's on the mind?
So in my mind, I'm not really, I'm not anti-vaccine. I'm more so pro-choice, and I feel like when you're dealing with, when you look back in history, anytime you're involved in any type of force, any type of government, so much power that the government has, where they can just, have so much tyranny over one law, it gets a little bit dangerous. And I would feel a little weird if I don't at least, show my support. Me being a father, not being perfect, but I just, certain things, when it comes to kids and I see things coming in the forefront, especially this situation, it gets a little touchy because so much misinformation is out there. It's, unless you're actually digging and doing your own homework, you don't realize that, a lot of these things have a big question mark behind them.
Hey, Jackie.
Hey, man.
My friend wants to
Go back upstairs. So yeah. So I'm defending my boy that's in here, and I just think we just have to be transparent. And I don't think that the news and the higher ups are being transparent, and that's my biggest issue. The mask mandate, as they said, the mask, they don't, if you want to look into the science or what have you, it's not really what they said it is, and that's my issue. So I'm just here to support my wife, support any pro-choice, choice as far as the mask, that is. And I'm here with you guys. I love all you guys, and I'm here to the end.
Yeah, and to go off of that, society has become so polarized in these issues. It's either, you're staunchly one side or staunchly the other side, and it's hard to find any kind of middle ground. And you have all these words like anti-masker, anti-vaxxer, and all these, extreme things flying around. And I think we can all agree that we want it to be clear that we're not against masks, we're not against vaccines. We're just for everybody being able to choose what's best for themselves and their families.
Yeah.
Let me ask this question here. Folks, Emily, Brittany, and Cameron, our guests here. Folks in Northern Virginia, Southwestern Virginia, Hampton Roads, Crozet, Richmond, Charlottesville, Lynchburg, downtown Charlottesville, Charlotte, North Carolina, folks outside Baltimore watching us here on the I Love CVille show. Did you guys, when preparing your children for school today, how difficult, or was it not difficult, a choice to send them to school without a mask on? And then the second part of the question is, what was the message of resiliency or courage or hope that you offered to your kids knowing that today had certainly a lot of vulnerability or uncertainty to it?
I'll go. So our youngest son that was clearly just in here, he's not in school yet. And our girls, they are in public school. They don't live with us full time, so we don't get to decide how their full-time life is led. We get to decide when they're with us, and when they're with us, they stay mask-free. I do know, because we're in a committee with over 700 parents, how people are handling that situation. And there's all different ways. There's no wrong or no right answer to that. And that's why we have the community. That's why we built that group. It's a Facebook group. It's serving Fluvanna schools, and it's specifically to be able to help people, again, know that they're not alone, that there is a community for them. So we can't personally answer to that because we didn't send our kids to school today. And Emily is a huge advocate of homeschool. She homeschools 3 kids full time.
Wow.
So,
Emily, you are a Hall of Famer and deserve the gold jacket over here. Homeschooling 3 kids, respect. Why the homeschooling of 3 kids? Is it associated at all with the pandemic, with masks, or is it a passion for control over curriculum and influence of how your kids are learning?
It's more of that natural passion. My oldest is in 4th grade, so we've been doing this well beyond the pandemic. But there's a plethora of reasons why we chose to do so. One of the biggest ones is, like you said, having that freedom of curriculum, the things they're being taught, letting them explore their own interests and getting more hands-on experience. But I do know, we've been many places that require masks. And even those short times, they're ready. They're ready to not have to. So I can't imagine if they were in public school for the last 18 months, however long it's been, having to be all day in a mask and what that would have done. I can recall one incident when we were traveling, and my 7-year-old was at a playground, and a group of kids came out on the playground and they were masked and my son wasn't, and they wouldn't play with him because of that. And he was just, that hurt him. And so we got back in the car and he was just saying, if I had a magic wish, I would want coronavirus to go away. And just that one very short instance had that kind of effect on him. And so I really feel for all these kids, especially the younger ones that have been masked this long.
The scariest issue is just not knowing the long-term effects of my youngest daughter is 5 and 7, and they're masked consistently a lot because of misinformation, I believe. And when I see them, they're masked pretty heavily, and it's like their lungs are so, they're not even fully developed yet, and it's kind of like, wow, they're not getting any oxygen. It's kind of like, man, like, what is the long-term effects of this? And that kind of concerns me right now. So every time I get a chance, I'm like, baby girl, you got to take that mask off. Take the mask off until we get around, public. When we're around public, around a lot more people, it gets, we make them put them on then. But especially when we're around just family, there's no need for it. I don't see any need for it.
And I think it also adds to that psychological divide when parents
Definitely.
are in their kids masked all the time and they're masked in school. And then the kids who aren't masked at home or in public, I think it creates more of that divide naturally in those kids, just judging each other, or, it's more than just the health aspect. It's what is it doing to them psychologically, for this to be normal to them, and hear all the back and forth between parents about, you're an anti-masker, you're a grandma killer, or whatever.
It's more demoralizing seeing so much division over, and you have family members coming against each other. For me, that's the more heartbreaking thing. Just seeing so much division between people who, once got along that don't no longer get along because of information that's not even verified yet. So that's the second part.
I apologize for interrupting. I'm going to throw this to you guys here. I mentioned on last week's show This is a very real and raw question for you here. I referenced on last week's show that masks in 2022 could be this generation's version of segregation.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
That's actually that I don't want to use the term preach, but we really pushed that message out, Jerry, from our group. Because I mean, look at just like Danny's Grill, for example, he opened up for us because he knows how many restaurants have closed the doors to us. And I don't want to take away from the people that believe, follow the science. No, I'm not that. But that doesn't mean that I don't research either. That just means that I might find different articles to go by. I might have different people that I look up to when it comes to the things that I believe in that may not be on mainstream media. And there's a lot of us, for every time I've read an article about how much the masks are effective, I've read an article about how ineffective they are. And so with something with that many inconsistencies, you're not going to control our decisions. You're just not.
You should be shunned for asking, pretty basic questions. You shouldn't be looked down upon. I feel like when we kind of go against what's the narrative, we can't question it. That's what kind of alarmed me. It was like the people that are questioning such basic questions, and why are people looking down on us for that?
There's definitely a shortage of respect of difference of opinion when it comes to really anything that's related to this. And we've gotten lots of messages today that there are kids right now segregated in our public schools.
Isolated in the principal's offices. I'm getting messages from bus drivers that's the topic I really wanted to touch on, Jerry, is the bus driver situation. There was a rumor that went out in Fluvanna about bus drivers being told to leave the kids at the bus stop that refused the masks. However, there was an email distributed to all of the bus drivers from the transportation department stating that if you're in the middle school and the high school and a child refuses the mask, that they're to be left at the bus stop. And I have a problem with that. I don't have to have a child in that school to be extremely passionate about that. So I stood behind that bus driver that sent that message to me, and I put out a mass post letting people know what the transportation department decided to tell Fluvanna County on Friday. The superintendent fired back by saying it was a rumor while validating exactly what it said, which was they cannot board the bus if they refuse their mask Monday. So I think, and I'm sorry, I'm getting a little worked up. It's hard to not have emotions on this topic. It really is. But I think when it's that divided and that divisive from a school, from the school grounds where you're counting on people to be focused on the safety and the education, there's so many people saying that the masks are not a safety factor. So what else do we do to keep the kids safe? Do we leave them on the side of the road with a parent not present? That was the part that it said, if a parent is not present and they refuse their mask, you cannot have them board your bus. These people, their jobs are in jeopardy based upon us, the parents, telling our kid, you don't have to wear your mask. Our governor said you don't have to wear your mask. And I will say Governor Youngkin sent out a statement over the weekend. Don't fight back with the principals that are pushing back on this mandate. Just do what they said. Let's fight it with the law. Let's fight it in the courtrooms. As somebody that's headed to law school, I'm all in support of that. And that's why we came up with this event, so that we could get people focused on the right things. We don't want to fight with our neighbors. We're not looking to kill anybody's grandma. We're really just trying, it would be awesome to be able to unify with the same people that I used to sit in school with and have always been friends with, regardless of what they believe. And I keep my distance anyway. So if I'm in public or I'm somewhere where even when I sit out to eat with friends that I haven't seen in a while, I'm not going to be so close that it's going to be an issue. So personally, that's my take. My family doesn't necessarily play on public playgrounds, and so to speak. We do a good job of creating distance.
Yeah, we don't have to throw out ration at the same time. It's rational things like wash your hands. Of course, you're not against stuff like that. Just
Right.
don't throw rationality out the window.
Right. And I support the people that need to wear them. If that
sure.
makes them feel better, I would never take that from them.
Yeah.
I just don't support people being told to.
You guys have two media outlets in Charlottesville watching you here on the I Love CVille show. I'm going to relay this to you from Henrico Schools. Before I do, I'm curious of the bus stop situation in Fluvanna. So if a child in Fluvanna chooses not to wear his or her mask, the bus driver is being instructed to leave them there at the bus stop regardless if a parent is present and regardless of temperatures that are in the teens or early 20s at pickup time in the morning. Is that accurate?
So what I will validate it with the email that was sent to me, especially after people have tried to discredit me as a person by being the one to send that message out there. What was specifically said was if the parent is not present and the child of the middle school and high school refuses their mask, they cannot board the bus. And when the superintendent sent out the email, that email also stated that. Now, he did say that they've been doing that all year long and nothing is different.
For elementary, it said bring them to school and then we'll deal with them when they get to school.
And do not call it on the radio. Wait till you get to the school to notify administration that, they were not listening, that they would not comply. So we've got much bigger issues than just the mask. We've got people willing to, risk children's safety for the sake of keeping their job, because a lot of people, one guy even commented when I shared the post, those are our marching orders. We're just doing what we're told.
It seems like collateral damage to.
How so, Cam? How so?
Yeah, just like what you brought you went back to the segregation issue. That's just something that.
Okay.
So the segregation issue, that's just the tip of the iceberg, and I think you're onto something there. But so much collateral damage is being done that probably won't be able to be spoken for until the next couple of years. We won't see the damage, psychological damage of the kids. Not being able to see faces of their mother smiling, and that stuff goes a long way. I think it won't be just damage, but it could turn into actions that they not being able to communicate in real life. It could possibly be life threatening. You never know. But that's just my take on it.
What do you think, Emily?
And even coming back, the kids who went back to school in person this past year, I know there was a huge uptick in violence among students, and just it was out of control. I mean, the school personnel could not control these kids, and I think a lot of that had to do with being out for so long and just with the quarantine and the virtual learning and all that, and all the psychological toll that it took being away from everybody for so long, and then coming back and still having all these strict things like the masks and people really forgot how to, I guess, be decent and have friendships and respect.
There's a legitimate fear. People are fearful. People are fearful of the unknown, and I think they're taking advantage of that in a way.
And we need to get back to that normalcy of relationships and close interactions and seeing each other's faces and everything. I don't know.
Jerry, I want to add too that another reason for the push of our new community, so to speak, is about 6 months old, that we've created on Facebook, is because there's an avid need for more charter schools in Virginia. And so we've been meeting privately to discuss what that would look like for our area. That was needed before all of this, and it's most definitely something that a lot of people could take advantage of if it were here now. And Governor Youngkin also mentioned, we have 7 charter schools in Virginia right now, and he would like to see there be 21 charter schools in Virginia by year 2025. And so there's a group of us trying to make that happen for our area. And things like this just push me so much harder.
I got a lot of questions for you.
Sure.
You got a lot of people offering props for your courage. You got some folks asking questions as well. Let's acknowledge some of the viewers. Lori Marie Lane says, "You're incredible, Brittany." I might mess up this person's name. Pemfo Banda is watching from Africa. And she says, I concur with Brittany, and I'm watching from Africa. So you guys have a global audience here. You now have 3 media outlets in Central Virginia watching you guys on the show. Follow-up questions for you, for Brittany, for Cam, and for Emily. Would you guys consider moving out of the Fluvanna district because of the mask mandates to a district that may be more accommodating? For example, Orange County and Greene County are 2 school districts. Madison's another one. Augusta County's another one that have lifted the mask mandates. Have you considered at all
No.
about moving?
No.
Okay.
Not only did we just build a house here, I've been here since 1996, and I ain't going anywhere.
You stay and fight for your home. You don't just flee your home and change your whole life, to get what you want. You stay and you fight for the change that you want to see.
Yeah.
With courage.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough people here that do think and feel like we do. They're just in positions where they could lose their jobs or their kids would be bullied in school, and they need us to stand. That's actually why we're here instead of some of the parents that are at work right now with their kids in school.
This question's come in. Can you ask the parents what kind of bullying or friction they have faced themselves or their children?
Oh gosh, I put out fires every day. I might start a few too. I get a lot of feedback, if you will, from my friends, family, coworkers, whatever.
Yeah, like name calling, guilting, like, oh, you don't care about anybody, you want people to die, just extreme nonsense, really.
It's a lot of new adjectives I'm starting to hear too. It's like, where are these words?
Like I
coming
said,
from?
it's
Yeah.
two extremes. It's hard to find middle ground, and people are passionate
Yeah.
on direct opposite ends of the spectrum. And so, they just spew a lot of extreme stuff, and in a way that makes it a little bit easier just to kind of let it roll off your back because it's ridiculous. But yeah, there's been a lot.
It's definitely two extremes, and you probably won't come to an agreement. I don't think that's possible in America, but I just think that it should, when it comes to the more so provocative language and violence that can come with it, and it's just it's uncalled for. We should have a goal. Everybody should have what is the goal? We should have a goal and all try to get to it. We just need to all have a clear goal, and the timetable is out the window. I think the government doesn't really have a timetable on this mask thing anymore, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
First it was 2 weeks, and then it was the first vaccine shot, and now we're going on 4th, and
Where does it end?
Where does it end?
stop,
Where does it
Where's the
end?
finish line?
If
Yeah.
you want to do that, let it be your choice.
Mhm.
That's all it is. That's the message. Let it be your choice.
Yeah,
Same way
choice, yeah.
people are pro-choice in other ways, let it be your choice.
Mhm.
And Cameron mentioned family. Like, it hasn't been easy for us. There's been family functions we couldn't go to because of our beliefs, but we decided what works for our household. And we happen to believe in the Bible that says, as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. We don't live in fear.
Respect.
And that's probably why I'm on the show.
Okay, why don't I close with this? The show is yours. You guys, appreciate you joining us on the program. Each of you guys close with some final words. Perhaps you can drive some attention to the function tonight, the charter school push, and then maybe a message for the community in totality from an empathy standpoint. Brittany, would you like to go first?
Sure. From an empathy standpoint, it just hurts to see people hurting. As someone that has an organization that was created for overcoming domestic violence, I'm all about being in someone's corner. Even when they don't agree with me, even when we have different perspective, I'll be that person with them to cry in that corner. I'm also that person that's like, okay, now it's time to do something about it. To mention Danny's Grill, that's our do something about it. They don't want us on the school grounds. That's fine. I totally agree with that and support that we need to have another avenue of our own. And Danny opening up his grill for us tonight. Whether you live in Fluvanna or have kids in Fluvanna or not, come out to Danny's Grill. This is just going to be a fun, family-friendly event, and it's an opportunity for our kids to get educated too, because a lot of this has to do with history just not being taught the way that I learned it.
Emily, the show is yours.
My hope is just for all of us to recognize what a great place we live in, and that we have the freedoms that we do to make decisions for ourselves and our families. And I just want for people to respect differences of opinion and to kind of bridge that gap between these two extremes we've been talking about. And just, be peaceful with each other, care about each other. I hope to see everybody at Danny's tonight. I will throw out there that this week is School Choice Week, and there are lots of options in the state of Virginia and everywhere across the country, really. So hit up your local library and get some information on different ways you can educate your children. And yeah.
Mr. Gray.
I'm gonna be quick and short. I just want to say that God hasn't given us a spirit of He hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but love, power, and a sound mind. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay. Guys, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you so
us.
much.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. You guys have a good day.
You
All right,
too.
Thank you. Thank you. Cameron Gray, Brittany Gray, and Emily Fernandez right there on the I Love Seville show. So the point of the show is to consider all aspects of what's happening in our community. And last week, we had in front of the program Kelly Jackson on the show, who was very pro-mask. Today, we had 3 parents that were of the mindset of parental autonomy and pro-choice. Try to bring both sides of perspective to the community on the show. So a couple of topics came up, and Judah Wickhauer's the director, will integrate you in a matter of moments here to the program. A couple of topics came up on Real Talk this morning that we should consider. Topics that we had not considered otherwise. One of those topics was from, between 15 or 20 moms interacting on the feed earlier this morning of how the mask mandates could influence real estate purchases within school districts that are enforcing the mandate and school districts that are not enforcing the mandate. One of the most passionate topics of 2022 undoubtedly is this pandemic, vaccinations, masks, and pandemic management. So moms asked this morning, will the school districts that are vehemently in favor of masks, or the school districts that are offering the autonomy to parents, will those districts see an influx or an outflux of parents looking to purchase real estate based on their beliefs with masks and children? That's a very interesting topic that we should all consider. I have said for the last 2 weeks on this network that masks in 2022 will evolve into today's version of segregation, cafeterias on one side with groups of children masked up, and cafeterias on the other side with groups of children unmasked. I have also said on this program is the 2022 version of Rosa Parks, a young man or a young woman that walks from the front of the school bus to the back of the school bus without a mask on their face. I want you guys all to consider those topics, please, on today's program. Jim Hingley, the Commonwealth's attorney of Albemarle County, who routinely listens to the program, a man who we have tremendous respect for, and Mr. Hingley knows I have tremendous respect for him, will join us on this show on Wednesday at 12:30 to talk about this topic. Now, what I'd like to do is to work our director, Judah Wickhauer, into this show. On Sunday, you were approached, if we can go to this camera and your camera, this camera here. On Sunday, you were approached at church, correct?
Yeah.
By a teacher. I'd like to get that microphone a little closer to you for consistent audio levels, which feedback from our guests has been. On Sunday, you were approached by a teacher at church who watched you on this show. Offer perspective into that conversation, please, sir.
So the teacher approached me and just wanted to say that she appreciated the perspective that I offered, that Youngkin went too far. I think taking down the previous mask mandate was good, but I'm not sure why he chose to swing entirely towards the other side of the spectrum and add another mandate. And I think that's a problem for a lot of people. And so I learned a few things. I learned that the public schools actually have, I guess, kind of an avenue of escape from the new Youngkin mandate, in that they can choose to. There was a previous ruling, or I don't know, mandate. I don't know what you call it. There was a ruling or whatever that stated that the public schools could. The public schools had to follow the CDC guidelines, and so with the case of having two rules, they're choosing whether they want to follow the new Youngkin mandate or whether they want to follow the CDC guidelines. With the case of the private schools, they do not have that option because they were not included in the original in the previous rule. So, again, my problem has always been with mandating, with no clear understanding of regions' needs. Just setting a mandate is always problematic, and in this case, what the teacher brought up to me was the fact that there are needs that schools have. Different schools need different things. Some schools may be fine having everybody decide whether or not their children wear masks on a daily basis, and they can mix and match, and everybody's cool with that. But what happens when you've got a teacher who lives with an immunocompromised condition? What happens there? In this case, according to the mandate, the school is not even allowed to ask students to wear a mask. The problem being that I'm sure that most of these kids would not mind wearing a mask to ensure that their teacher was safe. Kids are good people. But in this case, the teachers can't even, the school can't even ask the kids. And so now they're looking at losing a teacher. I mean, does the teacher have to quit because they can't
Work within the school because of health issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's another trend that we need to watch and consider. Will we see an exodus of teachers from schools that are pro-mask choice, parental autonomy? Will we see those teachers flood to school systems that are mask mandate? We have vacancies in education across the public school supply chain.
So where are we finding mask mandated schools?
Mask mandates are being upheld in Albemarle County.
So we're
They're
talking
being
about
upheld in the city of Charlottesville.
we're talking about the public schools that have the option of going with the CDC guidelines.
Albemarle County public school systems are saying masks will be worn in schools. Charlottesville City public schools are saying masks will be worn in schools. Orange County public schools voted to give the parents the autonomy to determine whether their kids wear the mask or not. Same with Greene County, Madison County, and Augusta County.
So hopefully all of those places gave consideration to the fact, to whether or not they have teachers or specific needs in their schools?
Yes, I would think that would be a hopeful consideration that's been given. My question I'm going to ask is, will you see the teachers in Orange, Greene, Madison, and Augusta? Furthermore, will you see the teachers at the Covenant School and Charlottesville Catholic who've indicated that the autonomy will reside in the hands of the parents and not division leaders or school boards? Will you see schools, for example, the ones I just listed, those teachers leave those schools and head to school systems where the mandate stays in place? So you have a couple of trends that I think we should watch and identify. Trend one, the migration of teachers from an employment standpoint to school systems based on mask mandates. Trend two, will you see parents choose to move from school systems to other school systems based on mask mandates and how they feel about them? The next trend we should consider, will Youngkin's administration follow through on the threat that was issued on Fox News 2 Sundays ago that public school systems that do not oblige or follow his anti-mask mandate, they will not get the funding they otherwise should get? It's another one you should follow. This from NBC 12. This was sent to me from a viewer and listener on the Twitter sphere that watches our program, Brian Yeagle. You know I love you. Brian Yeagle sent me this, a tweet from an NBC 12 reporter. And get ready for this, Judah. NBC 12's Karina Bolster, on-air reporter, the NBC affiliate in Richmond. She, via Twitter, said this: I reached out to Henrico Public Schools this morning to find out what would happen if a student does not wear masks. Here's the response from the Henrico County Public School spokeswoman. Karina, the expectation is that students will be wearing masks. The division has masks available at every school for anyone who needs one. School administrators will address individual cases with students and their parents and guardians. If the concern cannot be resolved collaboratively, it may be necessary for a student to learn outside of the school building.
So does that mean Henrico is sticking with the mask mandate?
That's correct. And if the student chooses not to wear the mask in the building, they cannot learn inside the classroom, hallways, cafeteria, or gymnasium. And they will instead have to learn virtually at home via Zoom. And we're all in agreement that a Zoom education is far inferior to an in-person education in a classroom, certainly from a socialization standpoint, and certainly from the last 2 years of data that we have that's indicated virtual learning is far inferior to in-person learning. We've had viewers and listeners of this program who are top 10 position in Charlottesville Public Schools that have indicated to me, Jerry, our graduates today are not on par with senior and high school graduation levels, and instead are like a 10th grader who's 3/4 of the way done with their 10th grade year. And that's because of the impact of COVID and virtual learning. So this is an incredibly dynamic topic, and we are unfortunately in the top of the second inning with a baseball analogy. We don't understand the true collateral damage and ramifications of the following. Socialization with our children, Generation Alpha, right, Judah?
Mm-hmm.
We don't understand that. We don't understand the true nature of divisiveness with this topic. You could be looking at the 2022 version of segregation here. We don't understand how this will impact teacher and educator migration patterns. Specifically, will they leave schools for other public school systems because of mask mandates or no mask mandates? We don't understand yet how this could impact families choosing to leave certain school systems for other ones based on mask mandates or no mask mandates. And lastly, we don't even understand yet how Governor Glenn Youngkin will utilize his true influence power to fund public schools or to defund public schools that do not agree with him. A perfect example I'm about to give you. We all know that Crozet in Western Albemarle County has boomed over the last 20 years, a generation, because of the incredible performance of schools in Western Albemarle. Murray, Henley, Meriwether, and Western Albemarle High School. If Albemarle County schools lose funding from the state because they choose to maintain a mask mandate, will you see that funding, the lack of funding, impact educational performance, SOLs, graduation rates? If those educational performance numbers are impacted by a lack of funding from the governor, who's in office for 4 years, will you see that geographical area of real estate slip? Fair question. Anywhere you want to go on this, Judah?
I just hope that we see Youngkin moderate his position. I think going straight for the jugular in this regard is as you said, divisive. We may not know exactly how divisive this will get, but we've definitely seen the divisiveness of the mask discussion over the last year and a half, close to 2 years now. And I think now is a time when we should be, trying to find solutions rather than causing more problems.
We'll get to comments on the program in a matter of moments. Viewers and listeners, if you have comments you want to offer, put them in the feed now. I will relay them live on air with 3 media outlets in our community watching our program as we speak. I've identified on this program how I feel about this. I've said many times, I want the autonomy as parents to make this decision. My wife and I, when given the autonomy of masking or non-masking our son, would still choose to mask our boy and send him to school. If we were given the autonomy of masking or non-masking our kid, my wife, who in particular is very cautious, she's a mama bear, we'd still send him to school with a mask on. I wonder if parents are given this autonomy, instead of being told what to do by government, if we would have a higher clip or frequency of mask-wearing children and less friction within the Commonwealth. Are people rebelling because government is telling them to do something? If the mandate is lifted, will that rebellious nature be taken out of the equation?
I think in some ways that may be true. I think that that giving parents choice is a good thing, but I still think I still think it's a necessary discussion that schools need to be having between their teachers and the parents, and not just a pure choice thing. Because as we've heard, what happens when you've got a teacher or a student in a class with immune issues. I think there need to be discussions between the parents and the school administrators and the teachers to find what's best for each particular school. I don't think a blanket solution is good for everyone.
Is a mandate a blanket solution?
Yes, a mandate is a blanket solution.
I think so too. So autonomy is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm saying take away the current mandate that replaced the former mandate,
I know, it's
and
getting so ridiculous.
and let schools decide what works best for them, as now the public schools are doing. The public schools now have more options, and some of them are deciding that we need masks, and some of them are deciding that the choice is up to everyone. And those ones probably don't have any issues. They don't have a teacher that's that could be seriously affected by a classroom full of students that aren't wearing masks. I just think that again, we need to talk amongst ourselves. We need to find out what is best for each of our communities amongst ourselves, and not just have a blanket, everybody wear masks, everybody don't wear masks. This is, I think, what we've been, a lot of the issues we've been seeing across the country for the last 2 years have been because some idiot up on Capitol Hill thinks that he has the answer for everybody across the United States of America.
I concur. I think that was well said. We'll get to some comments from viewers and listeners. This is from Karen Fry Wolf, who's a pediatrician at Pediatric and Associates. Karen, of late you've made this program incredibly more dynamic, and we respect your opinion and perspective. Karen Fry Wolf says this, and I believe she has a child at the Covenant School and one at the Charlottesville Catholic. I'll let you know because I've requested a full report from both of my children this afternoon after their first day in a now mask optional school. As a parent and medical provider, I feel absolutely defeated. Karen Fry Wolf. I respect that courage there. Lisa Lynn. This comment is 25 paragraphs long. I cannot read a 25 paragraph long comment here. She does say this. I will take the meat of what she says. Then wear a mask. It's not hard. It won't be forever. This show is skewed for anti-masking, prolonging the politicization of public health. To what end? Notice that I read the comments that even disagree with what we have to say. As long as they come in respectful fashion, I don't mind reading them, even if they disagree with what we have to say. Lisa Lynn says, yes, kids are good people. They want to protect others. Wearing masks is a minor inconvenience compared to dying of COVID. It is not forever, of course. Get vaccinated, wear a mask, and the more people who do that, the quicker we can get back to normal. Respect that. I appreciate your perspective. I'm vaccinated. You're vaccinated. I'm boosted. My wife is vaccinated. She's boosted. Our child wears a mask at school. Our child has worn a mask at school throughout the school year when many of his peers were not. My stance, however, is the autonomy should reside with the parents and not a suit in Richmond or on Capitol Hill. When it comes down to it, parents, for the most part, want the best for their kids. And health, and shelter, and food falls into that mindset. Kelly Jackson, she's got one in Albemarle County Schools, one at the Covenant Schools. She says, the government also said that if schools go maskless, kids should be vaccinated, weekly testing, and improved ventilation. Private schools do not have to follow the orders unless we are under state of emergency, and we are currently not. I think the local school boards and local health departments should choose what local schools do. Thank you, Kelly. A mom from Crozet who has asked me not to use her name. I won't. I respect you too much. Sends me this direct message. Please don't use my name. Masking of children in schools is a complicated issue, but masking kids for 7+ hours a day is not a completely benign intervention. School competence, empathy, language, emotional regulation, etc. are learned through facial cues. The data on mask efficacy is literally inconclusive. It's a mother in Western Albemarle in the Crozet area. I respected your anonymity by not using your name. Thank you for watching. Shirley McNulty watching the program. She lives in Charlottesville. She says this. She sent me a friend request. I just confirm your friend request, Shirley. Regarding Jim Hingley's comment, he is inferring that the unmasked will infect the masked. Haven't we been told by the powers that be that the mask protects you, so it seems the governor's mandate is sound and the unmasked can't infect the masked wearers? Judah has the right idea. Parents and teachers should be discussing each school what is right for them. Have you noticed, and this is a Judah term that we've learned on the show, was the term othering?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
What's the question?
Othering was the term you taught us.
Yeah.
And othering in a nutshell means the categorization of people based on ideologies or feelings or beliefs.
Yeah, dehumanizing groups that disagree or are different or just don't fit your standards,
Your narrative.
whatever it is. It's a pretty wide area that you can toss people into, but it's basically the idea is you don't look at the individual. You point out that that's a Republican,
Right.
we got it. And it makes it easier to disregard them, to send them to to camps.
Have you noticed
whatever.
the othering that has happened when it's come to masking and non-masking?
Not personally, but I've certainly seen it in the news. People getting attacked because they're wearing masks. People getting attacked because they're not wearing masks. People getting attacked because they're Asian.
I've noticed incredible amounts of othering. And that's why I've continued to stand by this statement that the mask is the 2022 version of segregation.
In some ways.
You have signs on the doors of businesses that say, you cannot patronize my business unless you're wearing a mask. Similar signs existed on doors that said, you cannot patronize my business if you were black.
But you can't put on a mask if you're black. You can actually just go get a mask, and oftentimes they're provided at the door of places that want you to wear one. I see the point you're making, but I don't see a full correlation to that.
Of course there's no full correlation.
Very different. Very,
It's been
very
a
different.
generation since multiple generations since segregation existed. It's today's version of segregation. and comparing them identically is not the point. The comparison is you can't ride the school bus without one. You can't ride public transportation without one. You can't patronize my business without one. It's a concerning dynamic that is incredibly early stage right now. Where does it go? Where does it end? When does it end? I had this comment from Jim this afternoon, or earlier today. Hingeley. Interesting discussion of mask mandates from Friday's show. You've wondered what the policy is in private schools. Youngkin pays, you ready for this, J-Dubs? This is from Jim Hingeley. Youngkin pays $39,385 in day student tuition to send his child to a private school that has both a vaccination mandate for all students, faculty, and staff, and a mask mandate for all persons on campus, regardless of vaccination status. See the Georgetown Prep website. While Youngkin pays to protect his own child from contact with the unvaccinated and unmasked while the child is at school, Youngkin deprives Virginia parents of the same protection for their children in public school by ordering that masking is optional. If you have $40,000 a year to pay for private school tuition, you can protect your child. If not, well, you are on your own in Youngkin's, Virginia.
I don't know. I think that's a little.
He will join us Wednesday at 12:30 in the studio.
I kind of think that's jumping the gun, considering that he's probably had his kid there for a while.
It's a decent point. And also offering a response to that point. Take Charlottesville Catholic School. We learned on Friday's show from Mike Pearl and also from Karen Fry Wolf that Charlottesville Catholic School is responding to the diocese orders and not the governor's orders. We have another comment coming in from a parent that's seeking anonymity. I respect your ask of anonymity. And he says this, please don't use my name, but what about the children who are deaf and or have hearing loss and cannot read lips with a mask on? It's a damn good question. It's a topic we did not cover.
That is a good question, but it's a question that's probably been asked for the last year and a half. I mean, I'm not sure how they've been dealing with it, but this mandate doesn't affect one way or the other how they will continue.
I think it's a safe statement to say that if you're wearing a mask and you're deaf and you're reading lips, communication is going to be difficult.
Yeah. Also safe to say they've been having that problem for close to 2 years now.
Was there the hope of the man or woman, female child, male child, that eventually the circumstances would be lifted so they could go back to lip reading?
Yeah. I mean, I never wear a mask. I think they're, I just don't do it. But that doesn't mean that other people don't have issues. And the fact of the matter is that there are people with immune issues, and some of them work at schools. Some of them probably go to schools as students. And so this isn't about me and whether or not I wear a mask. This is about, keeping the people around us safe. And that's why those schools need to have discussions about how best to deal with those issues. And maybe students with those problems, maybe it would be better to find classrooms for them that don't require masks.
I was sent by 5 various sets of parents at the Covenant School a petition that is circulating amongst parents. On Friday, late afternoon, the Covenant School made the decision to offer masking and put it in the hands, or the autonomy in the hands of parents, lifting the mandate. A petition has since been started, and 226 people have signed the petition asking Covenant School leadership to return the mandate of masks to the lower and upper school. 226 have signed that petition. Dynamic topic. A frustrating topic, an exasperating topic, a topic that hits close to home, certainly my home. Michael Cosner, watching the program, says hospitals use clear masks for hearing disabled people.
Yeah.
Good point, Michael Cosner. Thank you for offering that perspective, sir. I am an eternal optimist. Also, I'm a mesh of an optimist and a realist.
A what optimist?
An optimist and a realist combined, that would be me.
Oh, a mesh. Gotcha.
I say often the political party that I most identify with is the party of common sense. And I'm going to close with this. We are not close to the finish line on this topic. And you and us and all of us will unfortunately see families divided and friendships lost. And we won't truly realize the collateral damage of what this is doing to Generation Alpha until years, if not decades, down the road. You combine obscene amounts of screen time on iPhones and tablets and computers and televisions and all these streaming services like Netflix and Prime and YouTube at the very same instance of our lifetimes that socialization is being diminished in schools and the picking up of facial expressions and mouth expressions that are hidden by masks, and you will see Generation Alpha impacted in ways that no other generation has been impacted. Screen time with kids is a concerning trend, and I've seen it with our son. It's a freaking addiction, screen time with kids, where they're mesmerized, hypnotized, to the point where you could be saying their name when you're next to them and they don't even register what you are saying to them. How many parents have seen that? You compound the collateral damage of screen time with the unknown ramifications or dynamics of mask wearing and a lack of socialization. And we could be creating a Generation Alpha, of people that are not as socialized, as empathetic, as emotionally intelligent as we've seen in the past. And the really unfortunate aspect of this is we will not know truly until years from now. And I'll close with this statement. For many parents, the value proposition of homeschooling, of charter schools, and of private schools has never been greater. There's a reason there's a waiting list of private schools across the Commonwealth, certainly in Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and Central Virginia. And whether we want to admit this or not, it's reality. The educational divide between the resourced family and the under-resourced family has never been more evident. 2 years in March, we've been dealing with this pandemic. And in the last 2 years, you've seen resourced family and their children learning in settings that were synonymous with 2018 and 2019. While families that did not have the financial means, their children were learning in educational settings that were changing every day and far from perfect. Generation Alpha will have challenges that no other generation has had so far. And it pains me to say that as the father of the best little guy ever. Oh. It can be demoralizing. It can be demoralizing. That's the show. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you for joining us.